Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the FY 2026 Rural Postsecondary and Economic Development, or RPED, Program Competition Pre-Application Technical Assistance webinar. My name is Corinne Abrams, and I'll be guiding you through today's session. We're excited to support your efforts in improving rates of postsecondary enrollment persistence and completion among rural students through the development of career pathways aligned to high-skill, high-wage, and in-demand industry sectors and occupations in the region. Please note that the application period runs from May 21st, 2026 to June 23rd, 2026. All official documents will be posted to the website and Grants.gov, including the application notice and instructions, the pre-application webinar slide deck and recording, FY26 competition FAQs, and any other resources. For questions about the competition, please contact us at rped@ed.gov. Your FY 2026 RPED program competition contact this cycle is my wonderful colleague, Jamie Seward, and you may contact her with any questions at rped@ed.gov. Before you begin, please remember, do not rely solely on the information provided today or in this presentation. Please refer to the application notice and instructions and program regulations published in the Federal Register, as these are the official governing documents for the FY 2026 RPED program competition. Today's agenda covers a few topics, including program information and applicable laws and regulations, a competition overview for FY26, applicant eligibility and requirements, such as the priorities and selection criteria, as well as the performance measures. And then we'll go into some information about the application checklist, some application submission information, the application review process, and we have a few applicant resources at the very end. Although I won't go into much detail about these acronyms, before we jump into information about the program and the FY26 competition, here are some common acronyms you might see throughout the competition and in the resource documents. Please familiarize yourself with this slide as you review the competition documents and begin to develop your application. All right, so first we're going to jump into the program information and applicable laws and regulations for the RPED program and FY26 competition. As mentioned earlier, the purpose of the RPED grant program is to improve rates of postsecondary enrollment, persistence, and completion among rural students through the development of career pathways aligned to high-skill, high-wage, and in-demand industry sectors and occupations in the region. This competition is administered by the Department of Labor's Employment and Training Administration on behalf of the Department of Education. The RPED program is fully aligned with the America's Talent Strategy and the reindustrialization agenda of the Trump administration. As described in the March 16, 2026 Dear Colleague letter, ED and DOL developed this partnership through an interagency agreement to better employment and earnings outcomes for postsecondary students. In response to America's talent strategy and the reindustrialization agenda of the Trump administration, eligible applicants should propose bold, results-oriented initiatives that align postsecondary education, including registered apprenticeships, short-term and stackable credentials, and other high-quality alternatives to traditional four-year degrees, with regional workforce needs, and reduce barriers for rural students and deliver measurable gains in completion and employment outcomes. Furthermore, with rapid advancements in AI reshaping the nature of work and the skills required across nearly every sector, strengthening institutional capacity to integrate AI into education and training programs, both as a field of study and as a tool for teaching and learning, is essential. This includes expanding AI literacy, embedded AI-related competencies into curricula, and preparing educators and institutions to adapt to technological change while maintaining a focus on student success and workforce relevance. On this slide, you will see the applicable laws and regulations governing the program, such as the Program Authority in 20 U.S. Code 1138 to 1138D and the explanatory statement in Division B of the Consolidated Appropriations Act of 2026, as well as the applicable regulations in EDGAR, the Uniform Guidance in 2 CFR 200, the OMB guidelines, the Secretary's supplemental priorities, and the administrative priorities. Please note projects will be awarded and must be operated in a manner consistent with the non-discrimination requirements contained in the federal civil rights laws. All right, we're going to go into a brief overview of the FY 2026 competition before we jump into more information about our priorities and the selection criteria. The assistance listing number that you'll see on the application notice and instructions and in Grants.gov is 84.116W. The application deadline, as mentioned earlier, is June 23rd, 2026. And linked here is the Grants.gov funding opportunity number ed-grant-26-036, which is where you will go to apply for this competition. For the FY26 appropriations, the estimated available funds are $45 million, whereas the estimated range of awards is about $1.5 million to $2.5 million. Our estimated average size of awards is $2.25 million over 4 years or 48 months. We estimate to award about 20 grants. The maximum award per grant that you can request in your application is $2.5 million, and the project period is up to 48 months or 4 years. This competition does not have any cost sharing or matching requirements. That's not to say you can't voluntarily propose some cost sharing or matching funds. The program does not involve supplement, not supplant funding requirements. This program uses an unrestricted indirect cost rate, and for more information regarding indirect costs or to obtain a negotiated rate, please see our indirect cost division website linked here. And furthermore, under 34 CFR 75.708B and C, a grantee under this competition may award subgrants to directly carry out project activities described in this application to entities listed in the application. All right, let's take a look at our eligibility requirements for the FY26 RPED competition. Eligible applicants are institutions of higher education, or IHEs, as defined in Section 101 of the Higher Education Act of 1965 as amended HEA, that are public or private nonprofit IHEs and public and private nonprofit organizations and agencies. Please note public agencies include state education agencies and state higher education agencies. Please refer to the application notice and instructions for all eligible applicant definitions. We have the institution of higher education linked here in section 101 of the HEA. And as far as public or private nonprofit organizations and agencies, nonprofit as applied to an agency, organization, or institution means that it is owned and operated by one or more corporations or associations whose net earnings do not benefit and cannot lawfully benefit any private shareholder or entity. Public as applied as an agency to an agency, organization, or institution means that the agency, organization, or institution is under the administrative supervision or control of a government other than the federal government. And private as applied to an agency, organization, or institution means that it is not under federal or public supervision or control. Please note some additional examples of public or private organizations and agencies may include local education agencies, state education agencies, and state higher education agencies. And again, please refer to the definitions in the application notice and instructions for local education agencies, state educational agencies, and state higher education agencies. Applicants should provide ample documentation regarding their entity type. If it is not clear that an applicant meets the eligibility criteria, the application may be flagged as ineligible. If you are applying as a nonprofit, a public or private nonprofit organization under 34 CFR 75.51, a nonprofit must demonstrate its nonprofit status by one of the following. Number one, proof that the Internal Revenue Service, or IRS, currently recognizes the applicant as an organization to which contributions are tax deductible and under Section 501c3 of the Internal Revenue Code. Number two, a statement from a state taxing body or the state attorney general certifying that the organization is a nonprofit organization operating within the state and that no part of its net earnings may lawfully benefit any private shareholder or individual. Number three, a certified copy of the applicant's certificate of incorporation or similar document if it clearly establishes the nonprofit status of the applicant. Or number four, any item described above if that item applies to a state or national parent organization together with a statement by the state or parent organization that the applicant is a local nonprofit affiliate. Documents related to evidence of nonprofit status should be included in the other attachments section. In addition, applicants should reference their nonprofit status in the abstract. Each applicant may only submit one application as the lead applicant fiscal agent. However, applicants are allowed to be designated as partners and subgrantees on multiple applications for which they are not the lead applicant fiscal agent. Please note if an applicant submits multiple applications as the lead applicant fiscal agent, only the application with the latest date time received validation will be reviewed. All right, we're going to go ahead and take a look at our competition priorities for the FY26 RPED competition. This notice contains 3 absolute priorities, which are required for an applicant to respond to, 1 competitive preference priority, which it is optional for an applicant to respond to and receive 0 or 10 points, and 1 invitational priority, which is also optional and does not receive points. Absolute Priority 1 rule applicants is from the Administrative Priorities from Discretionary Grant Programs published in the Federal Register on March 9, 2020, and those are the administrative priorities. Absolute Priority 2 and 3 are from the Secretary's Supplemental Priority and Definitions on Career Pathways and Workforce Readiness published in the Federal Register on April 13, 2026. Absolute Priority 2 is Work-Based Learning, and Absolute Priority 3 is Career Pathways and Workforce Readiness. Competitive Preference Priority 1 is from the Secretary's Supplemental Priorities and Definitions on Evidence-Based Literacy, Education Choice, and Returning Education to the States that was published in the Federal Register on September 9, 2025. And as a note, for FY26 and any subsequent year in which we make awards from the list of unfunded applications from this competition, this priority is a competitive preference priority, and under 34 CFR 75.105C2I, an application may be awarded 0 or 10 points under the competitive preference priority. ED will not review or award points where an applicant fails to clearly identify the competitive preference priority that it wishes ED to consider for the purposes of awarding competitive preference priority points. And the invitational priority is promoting the development of AI literacy skills. For FY26 and any subsequent year in which we make awards from the list of unfunded applications from this competition, this priority is an invitational priority, and we do not give an application that meets the invitational priority a competitive or absolute preference over other applications. Please note each applicant must clearly identify the specific subset of the absolute priority for which a grant is requested. All priorities that are being addressed must be identified in the abstract form and the project narrative section of the application. Applicants should include a letter of designation or endorsement by the governor or chief state education official in response to competitive preference priority 1, and applicants may include additional narrative to be no more than 3 pages in order to address the invitational priority. Applicants should upload these documents, the letter of endorsement, and the additional narrative for invitational priority 1 to the other attachments form. All right, going into our first of 3 absolute priorities. Absolute priority 1 is rural applicants, and again, this is required for applicants to respond to. Under this priority, an applicant must demonstrate one or more of the following. Letter A, the applicant proposes to serve a community that is served by one or more local education agencies or LEAs with a locale code of 32, 33, 41, 42, or 43. Or letter B, the applicant proposes a project in which a majority of the schools served have a locale code of 32, 33, 41, 42, or 43. Or the applicant is an institution of higher education with a rural campus setting, or the applicant proposes to serve a campus with a rural setting. Rural settings include any of the following: town fringe, town distant, town remote, rural fringe, rural distant, or rural remote, and these are defined by the NCES College Navigator search tool. Applicants are encouraged to retrieve locale codes from the NCES School District search tool if responding to letter A, where LEAs can be looked up individually to retrieve locale codes. You can also search the public school search tool where individuals can look up locale codes for individual schools in response to letter B. And applicants are also encouraged to retrieve campus settings from the NCES College Navigator search tool, where IHEs can be looked up individually to determine the campus setting if responding to letter C. What do these locale codes mean? So as you'll have seen on the previous slide, there was a few numbers that are identified as locale codes, specifically in response to letter A and B. So to give you a little bit more detail about what that means, 32 means town distant, 33 means town remote, 41 means rural fringe, 42 means rural distant, and 43 means rural remote. I provided a little bit more information about those NCES locale code resources, those search tools that I mentioned earlier. So if you're responding to letter A of absolute priority 1, the applicant proposes to serve a community that is served by one or more LEAs with those locale codes. Here is what the NCES resource looks like for local education agencies. And again, these are where LEAs can be looked up individually to retrieve those locale codes to put in your application. If responding to letter B, the applicant proposes a project in which a majority of the schools served have those locale codes, here is the NCES resource, the public school search tool, where individual schools can be looked up to retrieve locale codes. And if responding to letter C, the applicant is an IHE with a rural campus setting or proposes to serve a campus setting with those rural locale codes or rural settings, here is the NCES College Navigator search tool, where IHEs can be looked up individually to determine the campus setting. Furthermore, we have one additional NCES resource for you, which is the general locale lookup by address. And by entering the address of your institution or organization or the schools or school districts, the locale lookup tool will provide you with an exact locale code. You should not only identify these in your abstract form, but clearly identify exactly which LEA schools or campus settings you are proposing to serve in your project in that project narrative, as well as the associated locale code. Our second absolute priority, priority 2, is work-based learning, and this is also required for applicants to respond to. And this is projects or proposals that are designed to provide work-based learning opportunities, including internships, externships, pre-apprenticeships, and registered apprenticeships, as well as mentorships, for which a student receives wages, academic credit, or both. As noted in the application notice and instructions, the definition of work-based learning is used in accordance with 20 U.S. Code 2302-55 to mean sustained interactions with industry or community professionals in real workplace settings to the extent practicable or simulated environments at an educational institution that fosters in-depth first-hand engagement with the tasks required in a given career field that are aligned to curriculum and instruction. Our third absolute priority, career pathways and workforce readiness, is also required, and applicants must respond to one or more of the following within this priority. Letter A is support workforce development programs that are aligned with state priorities, and this may include promoting the attainment by individuals of an in-demand and high-value industry-recognized post-secondary credential. And as defined in the notice, recognized post-secondary credential means credentials consisting of an industry-recognized certificate or certification, a certificate of completion of an apprenticeship, a license recognized by the state involved or federal government, or an associate or baccalaureate degree as defined in Section 353 of the Workforce Innovation Opportunity Act. Applicants can also respond to number 2 of letter A, expanding the availability of pre-apprenticeships and registered apprenticeships, including through dual or concurrent enrollment, which is defined in 20 U.S. Code 7801-15 by doing one or more of the following: supporting apprenticeship intermediaries, creating pre-apprenticeships, or creating new registered apprenticeships to include apprenticeships for in-school and out-of-school youth. Applicants can also respond to number 3 of letter A, supporting the development of new high-quality short-term programs that meet the eligibility requirements of the Workforce Pell Grants program in Section 83002B of the Working Families Tax Cut Act, including program length requirements and alignment with high-skill, high-wage, or in-demand industry sectors or occupations as determined by the governor in the state where the project is located. Or applicants can respond to number 4, supporting the expansion of high-quality short-term programs that meet the eligibility requirements of the Workforce Pell Grant program, including program length requirements and alignment with high-skill, high-wage, or in-demand industry sectors or occupations as determined by the governor in the state where the project is located. High-quality short-term programs as defined in the eligibility requirements in the Workforce Pell Grants program in Section 83002B of the Working Families Tax Cut Act include program length requirements and alignment with high skill or high wage or in-demand industry sectors or occupations in the region. And that's defined in not only Workforce Pell Grants, but you'll see that listed in the application notice. In-demand industry sector or occupation is also defined in the application notice and instructions. Please note, on May 18, 2026, the U.S. Department of Education announced a final rule to implement the Pell Grant provisions of the Working Families Tax Cut Act. The final rule was published in the Federal Register on May 19, 2026. The final rules provisions related to eligible workforce programs will be effective as of July 20, 2026, with an option for early implementation on July 1, 2026, at the discretion of the institution. If the applicant is responding to letter A, number 3 or 4 of Career Pathways and Workforce Readiness under Absolute Priority 3, then please refer to the press release as well as the fact sheet. The Trump administration implements workforce Pell Grant provisions of the Working Families Tax Cut Act for information and resources on the major provisions of the final rule, including program, institutional, and student eligibility requirements. Furthermore, an applicant can respond to letter B of Absolute Priority 3, which is to provide career and/or college exploration and advising opportunities to promote greater awareness of the range of post-secondary educational and career options. Or an applicant can respond to letter C of Absolute Priority 3, provide opportunities for students to use financial tools to compare the costs and benefits of the career options and educational pathways they are considering, including the long-term impact of taking out student loans on their financial security, including likely entry and mid-career earnings in fields selected by students as compared to entry and mid-career earnings in high-wage, high-growth, and high-demand occupations in each of the career clusters. Please note, post-secondary educational career options are inclusive of scaling access to learning and employment records. And learning and employment records is defined with respect to a talent marketplace, which means a digital tool maintained by a state or state workforce agency. And now we'll go into competitive preference priority 1. And this is returning education to the states, which is an optional priority for applicants to respond to. As a reminder, for FY26 and any subsequent year in which you make awards from the list of unfunded applications from the competition, this priority is a competitive preference priority, and an application may be awarded 0 or 10 points under this competitive preference priority. Again, ED will not review or award points where an applicant fails to clearly identify the competitive preference priority that it wishes ED to consider for the purposes of awarding competitive preference priority points. And this competitive preference priority is projects or proposals that will be carried out by entities identified, designated, or endorsed by a governor or chief state education official for purposes of implementing the project or proposal. Please note, applications that successfully address the CPP may receive an additional 10 points. To adequately respond to this CPP, applicants should include a letter of designation or endorsement by the governor or chief state education official in response to CPP 1. Applicants should upload this document to the other attachments form. And finally, we have our invitational priority, which is again optional to respond to. And this is promoting the development of AI literacy skills. As a reminder, for FY26 and any subsequent year in which we make awards from the list of unfunded applications from this competition, This priority is an invitational priority, and we do not give an application that meets an invitational priority a competitive or absolute preference over other applications. So this is an unscored priority. And the invitational priority is projects designed to provide opportunities for students to develop AI literacy skills and expand career pathways in an AI-driven economy, including AI education and training opportunities that utilize DOL's AI literacy framework to guide program design and delivery. Again, as a reminder, we do not give the application that meets an invitational priority competitive or absolute preference over other applications. And to adequately respond to this invitational priority, applicants may include a narrative of no more than 3 additional pages. Applicants should upload this document to the other attachments form. In order to respond to this invitational priority, again, you need to utilize DOL's AI literacy framework. The Department of Labor is issuing the AI literacy framework to provide a common foundation to guide AI literacy efforts for workers, employers, training providers, teachers, and faculty, state and local agencies, and other workforce and education system stakeholders. The framework identifies foundational content areas and delivery principles that can inform program design while allowing for flexibility and adaptation across industry, roles, and contexts. This framework builds on the Trump administration's broader commitment to ensuring American workers are prepared for an AI-driven economy. It directly supports DOL's role in implementing the AI Action Plan and America's Talent Strategy, both of which identify AI literacy as a foundational priority to expand across the workforce and education system. It also complements the Department of Education's guidance on the use of AI, including the July 2025 Dear Colleague Letter and the Secretary's Supplemental Grant-Making Priority on advancing AI in education to develop an AI-ready workforce. Posted on the DOL website are some resources about DOL's AI literacy framework, including this graphic, which outlines the foundational content areas of AI literacy, including Understand AI Principles, which is understanding AI core concepts, capabilities, and limitations, creating the foundation for effective use. Explore AI Uses, which directly exploring different AI tools and relevant use cases and how AI can complement human expertise. Direct AI effectively, which is understanding how to provide the right context to AI and how to create clear prompts that produce effective outputs. Evaluate AI inputs, assessing AI-generated results for accuracy and relevance and understanding how to iterate an AI output. And use AI responsibly, using AI in an ethical and secure ways, protecting critical information and ensuring accountability for outcomes. This graphic also outlines effective delivery principles of AI literacy, including enable experiential learning, which is delivering AI literacy through practical hands-on experiences that allow AI skills to be practiced in real-world situations. Number 2, embed learning in context, which is integrating into existing processes and in the context of the industry or characteristics that make it most actionable. Number 3, build complementary human skills, which is using AI to augment human skills such as judgment, creativity, communication, and problem solving. Number 4, address prerequisites to AI literacy, which is addressing barriers to participation and success with AI literacy, including digital literacy and broadband access. Number 5, create pathways for continued learning, which is providing structured routes to progress to more advanced specialized AI skills and AI-related occupations. Number 6, prepare enabling roles, which is equipping managers, counselors, and others who play a supportive role to a participant's AI learning. And number 7, design for agility, ensuring there are proactive built-in mechanisms to rapidly update content and deliver as AI capabilities evolve. And here are just some resources that might be helpful to you as you're developing your application if you're responding to the invitational priority. We have the U.S. Department of Labor press release, the DOL AI Literacy Framework, which includes the graphic and the overall framework itself, some DOL guidance on the AI Action Plan, as well as the administration's action plan, and then stakeholders who are interested in participating in a training webinar about the AI literacy framework can indicate their interest by emailing aiworkforce@dol.gov. All right, so now we're going to go into the selection criteria for the FY26 RPED competition. The selection criteria for this competition are from 34 CFR 75.110. The maximum score for all selection criteria is 100 points. The maximum score for each criterion is included in parentheses following the title of the specific selection criteria. Each criterion also includes the factors that reviewers will consider in determining the extent to which an applicant meets the criterion. Points awarded under the competitive preference priority are in addition to any points an applicant earns for all of the selection criteria in this notice. The maximum score that an application may receive under the competitive preference priorities and the selection criteria is 110. Under 34 CFR 105C21, as we mentioned earlier, an application may be awarded 0 or 10 points under competitive preference priority 1. ED will not review or award points where an applicant fails to clearly identify the competitive preference priority that it wishes ED to consider for the purposes of awarding competitive preference priority points. The project narrative is where the applicant provides detailed responses to each selection criterion as the project pertains to each absolute priority, and if applicable, the responses to the competitive preference priority and invitational priority. Applicants should respond to the selection criteria in the same order as presented in the application notice and instructions. Applicants should clearly label each selection criterion and separately address each of the criterion for each proposed activity. Applications are scored on the following. Need for project is letter A of the selection criterion, and the maximum value you can receive for that is up to 12 points. Letter B of the selection criterion is quality of the project design, and you can receive up to 46 points for that selection criteria. Letter C of the selection criteria is adequacy of resources, and the maximum total value of points received there is up to 15 points. Letter D of the selection criteria is the quality of the management plan, and the maximum total points you can receive there is up to 12 points. And letter E of the selection criteria, equality of the evaluation plan, has a maximum total value of up to 15 points. Again, for a total maximum score of 100 points. Again, if you respond to competitive preference priority 1, you may receive 10 points for responding to that. Again, no points are awarded to the invitational priority, but if you do respond to the competitive preference priority and receive 10 points, you can receive a total possible score per application of up to 110 points. Again, please respond to each criterion in the order presented in the application notice and instructions. That first criterion, as I mentioned, is the need for project, and you can receive up to 12 points. The Secretary considers the need of the proposed project. In determining the need of the project, the Secretary considers one or more of the following factors. Number 1, the data presented, including a comparison to local, state, regional, national, or international data that demonstrates the issue, challenge, or opportunity to be addressed by the proposed project, and you can receive up to 6 points for that one. And number 2, the extent to which the specific nature, magnitude of gaps or challenges are identified, and the extent to which these gaps and challenges will be addressed by the services, supports, infrastructure, opportunities described in the proposed project. And you can receive up to 6 points for that one, again, for a total of up to 12 points. Here are some project narrative tips for the need for project section. Identify and analyze potential gaps and challenges and issues in the target area. Compare data in the target area to similar data on a state, regional, national, or international level as it relates to the magnitude of need for the proposed project, and describe how the proposed project services, supports, and infrastructure opportunities will address those identified gaps and needs. That second selection criterion, as I mentioned, is the quality of the project design, and you can receive up to 46 points for this selection criteria. There are a few sub-criteria that you have to respond to in order to receive the maximum 46 points, and I'll go into those in each of these slides. There are 8 total that you will respond to under the quality of project design. The Secretary considers the quality of the design of the proposed project, and in determining the quality of the design, considers one or more of the following factors. Number 1, the extent to which the design of the proposed project demonstrates meaningful community engagement and input to ensure that the project is appropriate to successfully address the needs of the target population or other identified needs and will be used to inform continuous improvement strategies. And you can receive up to 5 points for this one. Number 2, the extent to which the goals, objectives, and outcomes to be achieved by the proposed project are clearly specified and measurable and ambitious, yet achievable within the project period, and align with the purposes of the grant program. And you can receive up to 5 points for that one. Number 3, the extent to which the proposed project will integrate or build on similar ideas, strategies, and efforts from similar external projects to improve relevant outcomes using existing funding streams from other programs or policies supported by community, state, and federal resources. And you can receive up to 5 points for that one. Number 4 of project design is the extent to which the training or professional development services to be provided by the proposed project are of sufficient quality, intensity, and duration to build recipient and project capacity in ways that lead to improvements in practice among recipients of those services. And you can receive up to 5 points for that one. Number 5 of project design is the likelihood that the services to be provided by the proposed project will lead to meaningful improvements in the skills and competencies necessary to gain employment in high-quality jobs, careers, and industries, or build capacity for independent living. And you can receive up to 5 points for that one. Number 6 of project design, the extent to which the services to be provided by the proposed project are likely to provide long-term solutions to alleviate the personnel shortages that have been identified or of the focus of the proposed project. And you can receive up to 5 points for that one. Number 7 of project design, the applicant's capacity, such as qualified personnel, financial resources, or management capacity, together with any project partners to bring the proposed project effectively to scale on a national or regional level during the grant period. And you can receive up to 10 points for that one. And finally, number 8 of project design, the quality of the mechanisms the applicant will use to broadly disseminate information and resources on its project to support further development, adaptation, or replication by other entities to implement project components in additional settings or with other populations. And you can receive up to 6 points for that one. Again, for a total maximum score of up to 46 points for project design. Here are some project narrative tips for project design. Discuss how you engage with the community, relevant stakeholders, and partners to design a project that will address the needs of the target population. Identify the goals and objectives and outcomes of the proposed project and design activities and services that will directly address the identified gaps and challenges. Be realistic and straightforward about every aspect of the proposed project design. Ensure project activities and services that are attainable, meaningful, and measurable. Discuss the potential of the project to build on similar or related efforts, as well as the potential to scale up the project. And determine procedures for quality control and continuous improvement of the project. The next selection criterion is adequacy of resources, and you can receive up to 15 points for this one. The Secretary considers the adequacy of resources for the proposed project. In determining the adequacy of resources, the Secretary considers one or more of the following factors. Number 1, the adequacy of support for the project, including facilities, equipment, supplies, and other resources from the applicant or lead applicant organization, and you can receive up to 5 points for that one. Number 2, the relevance and demonstrated commitment of each partner in the proposed project to the implementation and success of the project, and you can receive up to 5 points for that one. And number 3, the potential for the purposes, activities, or benefits of the proposed project to be institutionalized into ongoing practices and programs of the applicant, agency, or organization and continue after federal funding ends, and you can receive up to 5 points for that one. Again, for a total score of up to 15 points for adequacy of resources. Here's some project narrative tips for adequacy of resources. Clearly identify all partners, contractors, and subawardees in the project narrative and the budget narrative, as well as your abstract. Be specific about the lead applicant and each partner's contribution to the project, such as those services, facilities, equipment, supplies, and other resources that they will provide. Applicants must provide formal signed support or commitment letters from each partner, institution, organization, or subawardee. Commitment letters should briefly describe what services and resources partners will be contributing to the project. And please note applicants should list each partner entity in the abstract as well, and include the letters of support in the other attachments form. All attachments must be uploaded as a PDF. And work towards sustainability of the project beyond the federal funding period. The next selection criterion is the quality of the management plan, and you can receive up to 12 points for this one. The Secretary considers the quality of the management plan for the proposed project. In determining the quality of the management plan for the project, the Secretary considers the feasibility of the management plan to achieve the project objectives and goals on time and within budget, including clearly defined responsibilities, timelines, and milestones for accomplishing project tasks. And again, you can receive up to 12 points for management plan. Here's some project narrative tips for quality of the management plan. Forecast and create an implementation and management plan that is realistic. Dedicate adequate resources and time to the project components, including clearly defining the roles and responsibilities of the project's key personnel, as well as pertinent project personnel at subaward agencies or partners, organizations. Clearly estimate the budget, carefully estimate the budget, and ensure that all costs are allowable, allocable, and reasonable. We do not determine the time and effort of key personnel. You should set the percentage based on what you deem appropriate and explain why. This should be well explained in your management plan and budget. And provide CVs for all project personnel at the lead applicant institution or organization, as well as any pertinent project personnel at subaward partner entities. If an individual has not yet been hired, it may be helpful to upload a job description. And finally, we have our final selection criterion, quality of this evaluation plan, and you can receive up to 15 points for this one. The Secretary considers the quality of the evaluation or other evidence building of the project, and in determining that quality, considers one or more of the following factors. Number one, the extent to which the methods of evaluation or other evidence building are thorough, feasible, relevant, and appropriate to the goals, objectives, and outcomes of the project, and you can receive up to 8 points for that one. And number two, the extent to which the methods of evaluation or other evidence building will provide performance feedback and provide formative, diagnostic, or interim data that is a periodic assessment of progress toward achieving the intended outcomes. And you can receive up to 7 points for that one, for a total score for evaluation plan of up to 15 points. Here's some project narrative tips for the quality of the evaluation plan. A strong evaluation plan should be included in the application narrative and should be used as appropriate to shape the development and implementation of the project from the beginning of the grant period to the end. This plan should include benchmarks to monitor progress towards specific project objectives and outcome measures to assess the impact of grant-funded activities. More specifically, the plan should respond to the factors listed in the evaluation plan section of the selection criterion. Identify project-specific measures to build the project evaluation assessments. Choose metrics and evaluation methods that align to the goals, objectives, and outcomes of the project and that will produce evidence about the project's effectiveness. Discuss the potential for replication for the project and implementation in other settings. And you may work with an internal or external evaluator. You should select an evaluator that works best based on your project's needs and evaluation design. All right, we are going to briefly talk about the required performance measures for the FY26 RPED competition. ED has developed the following performance measures for the purposes of reporting to ED under 34 CFR 75.110. Program performance measures are indicators to evaluate the overall effectiveness of the program. These measures constitute the indicators of success for this program. Consequently, we advise an applicant for a grant under this program to give careful consideration to these measures in conceptualizing the approach and evaluation for its proposed project. If funded, you will be required to collect and report data in your project's annual performance report. And the four required performance measures for the RPED program are, number one, the number and percentage of project participants that receive direct student services supported by the grant, i.e. career and college exploration and advising opportunities, workforce development programming, etc. Program performance measure number two is the number and percentage of project participants enrolled in a post-secondary education program. Program performance measure number three is the number and percentage of project participants who complete a post-secondary credential, including through completion of a registered apprenticeship program and or transfer to a four-year institution. Program performance measure number 4 is the number and percentage of project participants active in internships, registered apprenticeships, or other work experiences. All right, so now that we've talked about the components of the FY26 competition and program in preparation for developing and submitting your application, we're going to talk about navigating Grants.gov and the application checklist. To obtain instructions or standard forms, including in this application package, not only refer to the application and notice and instructions for this competition, but you can also visit this website here to learn more about the instructions for the standard forms and how to complete those forms and submit them in grants.gov. Just briefly, I wanted to show you what grants.gov looks like as you go to navigate towards the home page. So as you type in grants.gov, which is linked in the slide deck, this is the home page that you will be provided, and you want to search for the ED funding opportunity, which was provided on a previous slide in that search bar at the very top. Once you go to search for the grant opportunity, as you note, that's where you'll put in the ED opportunity number and search for the grant competition. Once you search for the grant competition, it should pop up on the right-hand side of your screen as listed here. And then once you click on the grant opportunity, you'll see all of the information related to the grant opportunity in grants.gov, including the synopsis and any related documents, as well as the package, which is the forms that you have to complete in order to submit a full required grant application for this competition. And that's what we'll go into with the application checklist. All right, so as you're filling out your application, again, there are required forms that you have to complete with your application, as we've listed here in our application checklist. So please ensure that your application includes all of these forms. The standard documents, which is the application for federal assistance, or SF424, the Department of Education supplemental information for the SF24, you also need to include some budget information. So the budget information for non-construction programs form, which is the SF424A. You also have to complete your abstract form, and you'll submit that and attach it to the abstract form in grants.gov as a PDF. You also need to complete your project narrative and attach that to the project narrative attachment form in grants.gov as a PDF. You also need to complete, in addition to that budget information for non-construction programs, a budget narrative for all 4 years, and you would attach that to the budget narrative attachment form in grants.gov as a PDF. Some other attachment forms that you want to upload, are the Competitive Preference Priority 1 Letter of Designation or Endorsement by the Governor or Chief State Education Official. As a reminder, CPP1 is optional, but if you do respond to it, you need to provide that letter of designation or endorsement as a PDF in the other attachments form. If you do respond to that optional invitational priority as well, you are welcome to provide a narrative responding to the invitational priority of no more than 3 pages. You also want to include, as mentioned earlier, curriculum vitae or CV for all project personnel, as well as personnel at partner or subaward agencies. You are also required to provide letters of support from all members of that consortium, your subawardees, and other partners. You may also want to provide a bibliography, and you also are required to provide proof of nonprofit status if you are applying as a nonprofit organization to meet the eligibility requirements. Finally, in the application checklist, we have our assurances and certifications. This is the disclosure of lobbying activities, the standard form LLL, and the grants.gov lobbying form. And we'll go into more detail about each of these forms in order for you to submit a complete application. Again, those first 2 forms are the application for federal assistance, your standard document, which is the SF424, as well as the Department of Education supplemental information for the SF424, and the instructions are linked there. This form requires basic identifying information about the applicant and the application. Please provide all requested applicant information, including name, address, email address, and unique entity identifier, or UEI. When applying electronically via grants.gov, you will need to ensure that the UEI on your application is the same as the UEI your organization used when it registered with the System for Award Management, or SAM.gov. Applicants are advised to complete the application for federal assistance first, that SF424. Grants.gov will automatically insert the correct assistance listing number and program name automatically wherever needed on the other forms. Please do not attach any narratives, supporting files, or application components to the standard SF424. Although this form accepts attachments, ED will only review materials and files attached in accordance with the instructions provided within this application notice and instructions. That second part, the budget information, is the budget information for non-construction programs, the SF424A. The SF424A has 6 sections, A through F. While the form includes several sections and boxes, please use the information below to complete only the necessary sections. In Section A, that is your budget summary. In Section A of the budget summary, you'll enter the name of the grant program for which you are requesting funds in 1A. In 1B, you'll enter the assistance listing number. The example here is 84.044A, but the assistance listing number for the RPED program is 84.116W. In Section A Budget Summary 1E, the federal section, include the total amount requested for the entire performance period. The amount you enter here will auto-populate in 5E. In Section A Budget Summary 1F, the non-federal section, again, reminder, you don't need to provide any cost sharing and matching requirements, but you may voluntarily do so. Only include an amount in this section if you propose to include non-federal financial resources as part of this project, including any non-federal funds to meet any program cost sharing requirements. Again, this program does not require them, so you may voluntarily add them. If not including non-federal financial resources, leave this blank or include 0. And in 1G of this section, Section A, if using the Grants.gov form, the total amount included here will be auto-calculated based on what is included in 1E and 1F. In Section B of the budget information form, the SF424A, this is the budget category section, or the object class categories. The categories listed here, A through K, are the categories you will need to further describe in the budget narrative, as I mentioned earlier. You will provide a breakdown by category for each year of the project in the budget narrative for all 4 years. If using Grants.gov, line 6, column 1 will be auto-populated with the name of the program for which you are requesting funding. In that first category, which is personnel, line 6A, enter project personnel salaries and wages only. Include fees and expenses for consultants on line 6F or 6H. Under fringe benefits, which is line 6B, this is the organization or institution's normal fringe benefits contribution that may be charged to the program. Leave this line blank if fringe benefits applicable to direct salaries and wages are treated as part of the indirect cost. Under travel, line 6C, indicate the travel costs of employees and participants only. Include travel of persons such as consultants on line 6F or 6H. Under the equipment lines, line 6D, indicate the cost of tangible, non-expendable personal property that has a usefulness greater than 1 year and acquisition costs that are lesser of the capitalization level established by the applicant entity for financial statement purposes, or $10,000 per article. Lower limits may be established to maintain consistency with the applicant's policy. Under the supplies line item, line 6E, show all tangible, expendable personal property. Direct supplies and materials do differ from equipment in that they are consumable, expendable, and of a relatively low unit cost. Supplies purchased with grant funds should directly benefit the grant project and be necessary for achieving the goals of the project. In line 6F of this budget form, the contractual line item, the contractual category should include all costs specifically incurred with actions that the applicant takes in conjunction with an established internal procurement system. Include consultant fees, expenses, and travel costs in this category if the consultant's services are obtained through a written binding agreement or contract. In line 6G, construction, as a reminder, construction funds are not authorized unless specified for the program. If the construction is allowable, include the amount request for construction costs. And under the RPED program, please note that construction costs are not allowable. Under the other line, line 6H, indicate all direct costs not covered on lines 1 through 6. For example, include costs such as space rental, required fees, honoraria, and travel where a contract is not in place for services, training, and communication and printing costs. If applicable, include stipends under other. If stipends are included under Other, do not include stipends when calculating the indirect cost. Do not include costs that are included in the indirect cost rate. Under line 6I, that is the total direct cost, the sum of lines 6A through 6F, if using Grants.gov, will be auto-calculated. Under 6J, that is the indirect cost line item. Indicate the applicant's approved indirect cost rate. If an applicant does not have an approved indirect cost rate agreement with a cognizant federal agency, the applicant must apply to ED for a temporary indirect cost rate if you wish to charge indirect costs to the grant. For more information, please visit the ED website to learn more about indirect costs and how to obtain that negotiated rate. For lines 6J, 6I and 6J, that will be auto-calculated in Grants.gov. And then in line 7, program income, you may leave this field blank. In section C of the budget information form, that is non-federal resources. Again, it is voluntary to provide cost sharing or matching under this program if you would like to provide some cost sharing or matching non-federal funds. So if you're proposing to do so, you may put that in this section. Otherwise, you would leave that blank. In section D, the forecasted cash needs, line 13 of section D, the federal line item, the total for first year column will automatically calculate based on the funding amounts, including in quarters 1 through 4. These quarters apply to year 1 only. Enter the forecasted cash needs from federal sources for each quarter of the first program year. The amount entered for each quarter will be used to auto-calculate the amount in line 15 and is your forecasted needs. You will have an opportunity to provide updates to these quarterly amounts in post-award. If you are proposing non-federal amounts, you would put the same in line 14 using the same format. And line 15 is the sum of lines 13 and 14. If using Grants.gov, that will be auto-calculated. Section E of this form is the budget estimates of federal funds needed for the balance of the project. This section collects information for future funding periods. While the columns are labeled first B through 4th E, this is the section where you will include the total amount of federal funds requested for years 2 through 4 for 4-year projects. You are only including the total amount of federal funds requested for the out years beyond year 1. The total amount in section D, line 13, plus the total amount in out years should match the total project total requested in section A, line 5E. In line 16, column A, the grant program of this section, if using Grants.gov, this box will be auto-populated with the name of the program you included in section A, line 1. In column B of line 16, include the total amount requested for that first out year, year 2 of the project. Ensure this amount matches what is in your budget narrative. In column C of line 16, that is where you'll put the total amount requested for the second out year or year 3 of the project. Again, make sure this amount matches what is in your budget narrative. And finally, in line 16, column D, include the total amount requested for the third out year, year 4 of the project, and ensure this amount matches what is in your budget narrative. In section F, other budget information of the SF424A, line 21 is direct charges. You may leave this field blank. Line 22, indirect charges. Enter the type of indirect rate, provisional, predetermined, final, or fixed, or 15% de minimis rate that will be in effect during the funding period. In line 23, remarks, you may leave this field blank. The next part of the application checklist is that abstract. The abstract should serve as a quick reference guide to your application. Include the items below in the order listed and use the same number format. To complete the information accurately, you will need to provide the following details in a one-page single-spaced form and upload that to the abstract form as a PDF. Please include the following information in your abstract. Number 1, the lead applicant institution, so name the institution or organization that is the lead applicant. Number 2, partner entities. So please list your partner entities involved in the project, mentioning their type, for example, institution of higher education, nonprofit, local education agency, state education agency, etc. And please include the NCES locale codes as applicable in response to Absolute Priority 1. Include your project title. Identify your the absolute priorities addressed by number, for example, Absolute Priority 1, and briefly describe how it is addressed. If applicable, identify if you're responding to the competitive preference priority and if you included the required letter of designation or endorsement by the governor or chief state education official. If applicable, identify if you're responding to the invitational priority and briefly describe how it is addressed. Define your target population, outline the activities and objectives of the proposed project, and describe the anticipated results, such as your learning outcomes. The next part of the application checklist is your project narrative, which is likely the meat of your application. This section should be attached as a single document to the project narrative attachment form in accordance with the instructions found on Grants.gov and should be organized in the following manner and include the following parts in order to expedite the review process. Ensure that you only attach the ed-approved file types detailed in the 2025 Common Instructions. When attaching files, you should limit the size of your file names. The first part of your project narrative should be your table of contents. The table of contents shows where and how important sections of your proposal are organized and should not exceed one double-spaced page. The application narrative has a recommended page limit of no more than 65 pages. The recommended page limit does not apply to the cover sheet, the budget section, including the narrative budget justification, the assurance and certifications, or the one-page abstract, the resumes, the bibliography, or the letters of support. However, the recommended page limit does apply to the project narrative. Please note applicants should provide an exact outline of the local education agencies, schools, and/or regions to be served, as well as the associated NCES locale codes in response to Absolute Priority 1. In that budget narrative, which is the next section of the application checklist, this section should be attached as a single document to the budget narrative attachment form in accordance with the instructions found on Grants.gov. It should be organized in the following manner and include the following parts in order to expedite the review process. And again, ensure that you attach the ed-approved file types detailed in the 2025 Common Instructions. Each application must provide a budget narrative for the requested federal funds. The budget narrative for requested federal funds should provide a justification of how the money requested for each budget item will be spent. The total amounts for each project year should match the total amounts in the Section E budget estimates of federal funds needed for balance of the project in that SF424A. This section requires an itemized budget breakdown for each project year and the basis for estimating the cost of personnel salaries, benefits, project staff travel, materials and supplies, consultants and subcontracts, indirect costs, and any other projected expenditures. Be sure to complete an itemized budget breakdown and narrative for each year of the proposed project for all 4 years. Below is that breakdown of the categories to be included in the project budget narrative for each project year. For personnel, list all staff positions by title, including roles and responsibilities. For each position, give the annual salary, the percentage of time devoted to the project, and the amount of each position's salary funded by the grant. The next part of the budget narrative should be fringe benefits, and this is the institution or organization's normal fringe benefits contribution that may be charged to the program. Leave this blank if fringe benefits applicable to direct salaries and wages are treated as part of the indirect cost. For travel, for grantee staff only, specify the purpose, number of staff traveling, mileage per diem, estimated number of in-state and out-of-state trips, and other estimated costs for each type of travel. For equipment, identify each item of equipment you expect to purchase that has an estimated acquisition cost of $10,000 or more per unit and a useful life of more than 1 year. List the item, quantity, and the unit cost per item. For supplies, identify the cost of supplies, i.e. your general office supplies, desks, chairs, laptops, printers, and other specialty items in the detailed budget per category. Except for general office supplies, list the item quantity and the unit cost per item. Supplies include all tangible personal property other than equipment. And items with a unit of cost of less than $10,000 are supplies, not equipment. Under the contractual line item in the budget narrative, Include all costs specifically incurred with actions that the applicant takes in conjunction with an established internal procurement system. Include consultant fees, expenses, and travel costs in this category if the consultant's services are obtained through a written binding agreement or contract. So this may be where you put your subawardees or your partners. Construction funds are not authorized, and under the other category, indicate all direct costs not covered elsewhere. For example, include costs such as space rental, required fees, honoraria, and travel where a contract is not in place for services, training and communication and printing costs. List items such as stipends or incentives that are not covered elsewhere. In the indirect cost section, as a reminder, this program uses an unrestricted indirect cost rate. For more information regarding indirect costs or to obtain a negotiated rate, please visit our website to contact the Indirect Cost Division for more information and support. In addition, here are some helpful regulations referencing indirect costs in our uniform guidance, as well as our Education Department General Administrative Regulations. The final part of your budget narrative should include the total costs, and this number should be total direct costs plus indirect costs. And as a reminder, you want to include a budget narrative breakdown for each project year for all 4 years. Again, the budget narrative provides an opportunity for the applicant to identify the nature and amount of the proposed expenditures. The applicant should provide sufficient detail to enable reviewers and project staff to understand how requested funds will be used, how much will be expended, and the relationship between the requested funds and each project activity and outcomes. Ed staff perform a cost analysis of each recommended project to ensure that the costs relate to the activities and objectives of the project are reasonable, allowable, and allocable. Ed may delete or reduce costs from the budget during this review. Please note applicants are encouraged to review the cost principles described in 2 CFR Part 200 Subpart E for the Guidance for Federal Financial Assistance. For any questions on allowable costs, please contact us at rped@ed.gov. The next section of the application checklist is that other attachments form. So again, the CPP1, if you were responding to that optional CPP, you must provide a letter of designation or endorsement by the governor or chief state education official. If you're responding to the optional invitational priority, you can include a narrative of no more than 3 additional pages. You must also include curriculum vitae, CV, for all project personnel at the lead applicant organization and the partner organizations. It's recommended that all CVs be no more than 3 pages each. You can include your bibliography for any references that are cited in your project narrative. You also need to include letters of support from all members of the consortium and other partners, particularly subgrantees. And as a reminder, a grantee under this competition may award subgrants to directly carry out project activities described in its applications to the following types of entities: IHEs and public and private nonprofit institutions and agencies, including state higher education agencies. Subgrantees do not need to be the same entity type as the lead applicant. However, a subgrantee must meet the eligibility requirements for this competition, meaning a lead applicant can only provide subgrants to the following types of entities: IHEs and public and private nonprofit institutions and agencies. If a subgrantee is a nonprofit organization, they must demonstrate its nonprofit status according to the requirements in the eligibility criteria mentioned earlier in this webinar. Furthermore, you must clearly identify all contractors and subawardees in the project narrative and the budget narrative. The justification should include services to be performed and products to be provided along with the corresponding costs. Applicants must provide formal support or commitment letters from each partner institution or organization. Commitment letters should briefly describe what services and resources partners will be contributing to the project. And again, you should upload this to the other attachments form as a PDF. All right. In addition to that, and for letters of support for particularly subgrantees, you want to include a budget narrative breakdown for each subgrantee. You may want to include this in the Ed 424 SF 424A budget construction form under the contractual line item, as I mentioned earlier. However, you need to provide specific details of each subawardee, and that must be provided in a separate detailed budget narrative for each year of the project period. and you can reference the earlier slides for the budget narrative. When it comes to subawardees, they must comply with the administrative requirements of the award, including the indirect cost rate limitations. However, this does have an unrestricted indirect cost rate. The lead applicant organization is primarily responsible for subawardees, so they must work with the subawardee to identify the indirect cost rate and/or obtain that negotiated rate if applicable. Here's some guidance in the 2 CFR 200-332, which are requirements for pass-through entities, which is the lead applicant. This is particularly the requirements as you are awarded a grant and going through the monitoring process of your subawardee. This also includes the indirect cost rate identification as per 2 CFR 200-332B1 and the review and approval processes for indirect cost rates. Another thing that you need to provide in the other attachments form is proof of nonprofit status to meet the eligibility requirements. As a reminder, nonprofit lead applicants, subawardees, and partners must provide proof of nonprofit status outlined below, which was mentioned earlier and discussed in this technical assistance webinar. The final part of the application checklist is your assurances and certifications, which is your disclosure of lobbying activities and the Grants.gov lobbying form. Be certain to complete all required assurances and certifications and include all required information in the appropriate place on each form. While it is required to submit the lobbying form that best meets an applicant's situation, the two forms are classified as optional in Grants.gov to avoid submission errors when only one lobbying form is submitted. All right, so we're going to review the application submission information. Once you've finished your application, you're ready to submit it in Grants.gov. Here's some information that might be helpful for navigating Grants.gov and that submission. As far as application submission instructions, applicants are required to follow the common instructions and information for applicants to Department of Education discretionary grant programs published in the Federal Register on August 29, 2025. And this contains the requirements and information on how to submit an application. For registration to apply, you must first register in two systems, SAM.gov, which is where you will obtain your UEI number, and Grants.gov. If you're already registered, make sure your registration is up to date. Grants.gov registration does involve several steps, including registration in SAM.gov. You may begin working on your application while completing the registration process, but you cannot apply in Grants.gov until all registration steps are complete. Once your SAM registration is active, it will take 24 to 48 hours for the information to be available in Grants.gov and before you can apply through Grants.gov. For detailed information on the registration steps, please go to Grants.gov applicant registration linked here. Please note that your organization will need to update its SAM registration annually. Here are a few screenshots of SAM.gov and Grants.gov. For SAM.gov, you must have an active account with SAM.gov. This includes having a unique entity identifier or UEI number. Again, SAM.gov registration can take several weeks, so begin that process as early as possible. In fact, that should be the first step that you take when starting your application. To register, go to sam.gov and click on Get Started. Click on the Entity Registration Checklist for the information you will need to register in sam.gov. And if you need any assistance, you can call the Federal Service Desk for sam.gov or do a live chat with them listed here. For Grants.gov, you must also have an active account with Grants.gov. So once you register in sam.gov, you should hop over to Grants.gov and begin that registration immediately. To register, go to Grants.gov and click Register. When ready, click on Get Registered Now and complete the required fields. For more information or assistance, click on the Applicant Registration page. ED strongly recommends that you do not wait until the last day to submit your application. Grants.gov will put a date and time stamp on your application and then process it after it is fully uploaded. If Grants.gov rejects your application, you will need to resubmit successfully to Grants.gov before 11:59 p.m. Eastern Time on the deadline date of June 23, 2026. You must provide the UEI number on your application that was used when you registered as an authorized organization representative on Grants.gov. The UEI is assigned to your organization in SAM.gov at the time your organization registers in SAM.gov. If you do not enter the UEI assigned by SAM.gov on your application, Grants.gov will reject your application. So again, and that's why it's important I think, as a first step to register in SAM.gov to obtain that UEI number, which may take several weeks. A Grants.gov applicant must apply online using Workspace, a shared environment in Grants.gov where members of a grant team may simultaneously access and edit different web forms within an application. You may begin by creating an individual workspace for each application and establish for that application a collaborative application package that allows more than one person in your organization to work concurrently on an application. You will then complete the application forms in Workspace and submit the application when completed. For further instructions on how to apply using Grants.gov, please refer to this link here. You do want to verify submission, so verify that Grants.gov has received your application submission on time and that it was validated successfully. To see the date time your application was received, log into Grants.gov and click on the Track My Application link. For a successful submission, the date time received should be earlier than 11:59 p.m. Eastern on that deadline date of June 23, 2026, and the application status should be validated, received by the agency, or agency tracking number assigned. If the date time received is later than 11:59 p.m. Eastern Time on the deadline of June 23rd, your application is late and will not be accepted. If your application has a status of received, it is still awaiting validation by Grants.gov. Once validation is complete, the status will either change to validated or rejected with errors. If it is validated, then it was successfully received by the organization. If the status is rejected with errors, your application has not been received successfully, and some of the reasons that Grants.gov may reject an application can be found at this link here. If you have any submission problems, what should you do? So for more detailed information on troubleshooting Adobe errors, you can review the Adobe Reader software tip sheet linked here. If you discover your application is late or has been rejected, please see the instructions below. Note you will receive a series of confirmations both online and via email about the status of your application. Please do not rely solely on email to confirm whether your application has been received timely and validated successfully. Please log into Grants.gov to make sure that it is in that validated status. If you have submission problems or problems submitting to Grants.gov before the closing date, please contact Grants.gov customer service support at this number here, or you may email them at support@grants.gov or access the Grants.gov self-service knowledge base web portal. All right, so what happens after you submit your application and we receive it at the Department of Education? So as far as the review and selection process, we do remind potential applicants that in reviewing applications in any discretionary grant competition, the Secretary may consider, under this regulation, information outside the rank order of applications, including the information in each application and any other information relevant to a criterion, priority, or other requirement that applies to the selection of applications for new grants, concerning the applicant's performance and use of funds under a previous award under any department program, and concerning the applicant's failure under any department program to submit a performance report or its submission and performance report of unacceptable quality. Before making awards, department staff will screen applications submitted in accordance with the requirements in the notice to determine whether applications have met eligibility and other requirements, such as the required absolute priority responses, including whether an application may fail to meet the general terms and conditions applicable to awarded funds referenced elsewhere within the application notice and instructions. This screening process may occur at various stages of the review and selection process. Applicants that are determined to be ineligible will not receive a grant, regardless of whether the application was included in the peer review process. Applicants not selected for funding will be informed of the Secretary's decision. Peer reviewers will take a look at applications. They have expertise in areas pertinent to the grant program. All of them are screened for conflicts of interest to ensure a fair and competitive review process. They will read, prepare a written evaluation of, and score the assigned applications using the selection criteria provided in the notice and in this technical assistance webinar. For this competition, a panel of non-federal reviewers will review each application in accordance with that selection criterion. The individual scores assigned by the reviewers will be added and the sum divided by the number of reviewers to determine the peer reviewer score received in the review process. If there is a tiebreaker, so in the event there are two or more applications with the same final score in the rank order listing, and there are insufficient funds to fully support each of the applications, the department will apply the following procedure to determine which application or applications will receive an award. So that first tiebreaker, under the first tiebreaker, the secretary will select the application with the smallest amount of funding allocated to indirect costs. If a tie still remains, the second tiebreaker will be utilized. Under the second tiebreaker, the secretary will select the application proposing to serve the highest number of LEAs, schools, and/or institutions located in a rural area as identified by the rural locale codes located in absolute priority 1. And you can refer to the link here for the NCES locale lookup map. We do have a call for peer reviewers, so any individuals that are interested in being a peer reviewer for the FY26 RPED competition may email us at rped@ed.gov. We recommend not only emailing us your resume or CV, but registering through the Grant Solutions system, and you can find more information on our RPED website. We do seek individuals with expertise related to the program as outlined below. So we request college, university faculty, staff, and administrators, K through 12 teachers, educational strategists and evaluators, grant writers, and individuals with K through 12 and post-secondary experience in the following areas related to the program requirements. Some of the requirements for peer reviewers are if you are interested. So you will be expected to work approximately 60 hours over a 3-week period. You will complete a virtual reviewer training, and that date and time is to be determined. You must be available for the full period and participate in at least 4 to 5 panel meetings during AM or PM time slots and have access to a computer, internet, and phone during the review period. Again, you'll be screened for conflicts of interest, so you may not serve as a reviewer if you have participated in preparing an application, are affiliated with an applicant organization or a subgrant or partner organization, or have a financial or professional interest in the competition outcome, including interests of family members, employees, or associates. Again, to apply as a peer reviewer, submit a resume to rped@ed.gov, including the subject line FY26 RPED peer review, and register as a reviewer in Grants.gov. All right, we have come to the end of our presentation today for the pre-application technical assistance webinar for the FY26 RPED competition. So to leave you off as you go to prepare and submit your application, here are some resources that I've summarized from the webinar today. We have the RPED application notice and instructions, the link to Grants.gov, which again is where you'll fill out and submit all of those required forms and your project narrative, and you can find the opportunity for the RPED program under Ed Grant 20-26-036. Again, you also want to first register in SAM.gov to obtain that UEI number, which can take several weeks. We also have the RPED website, which is where this recording and slide deck will be posted at a later time, as well as all the FAQs from the competition. This competition does have open licensing requirements. You can find the final regulations for that listed here. We do have some wonderful technical assistance for ED grantees, as well as some grants training and management resources, which you can access on the online grants training courses website. Please utilize all these resources as well as the webinar here to support you as you are filling out your application. But again, please note that the application notice and instructions is the official guide and instructions for this FY26 competition. And here's some contact information that could be helpful to you as you're completing and submitting your application. So again, our FY26 competition manager is my wonderful colleague, Jimmy Seward, and you can contact her at rped@ed.gov. I'm Corinne Abrams, and I'm the RPED program lead, and you can contact me at corinne.abrams2@ed.gov. And then we have our wonderful division director, Dr. Stacy Slijepčević at stacy.slijepčević@ed.gov. Again, thank you so much for allowing me to speak to you today and provide some technical assistance on the FY26 RPED competition. We're so excited to support your efforts in improving rates of post-secondary enrollment, persistence, and completion among rural students through the development of those career pathways aligned to high-skill, high-wage, and in-demand industry sectors and occupations in the region. And we can't wait to read your applications. Thank you for all you do for our communities, for our students, for our nation, and we wish you all the best in filling out and submitting your application. Have a wonderful day and take care.